Hello. It's been a long hiatus from the Bluestone Villa. I have to just keep a check in case my neighbour comes out and thinks I'm an absolute maniac. But I thought I would bounce back with a bit of a garden tour for May. I did a garden tour back when I first started this channel, just to kind of show the difference between the real overgrown garden when we moved in to kind of where we'd got it to 2 years ago. And I've not really done a huge amount in the garden that I've shared with you since. And I actually had a comment on a video back in the winter saying, oh, can we get like an updated tour? And I said that I would do it, but obviously not at that point in time because there was really nothing to show. Like, the garden didn't look its best, and it's been a longer while to get it to looking a little bit better this year because we've had such a weird spring and such a slow start to the year. And I think also because it snowed before Christmas last year, I think that really impacted a lot of like our plants and stuff, and I think everybody's kind of said the same. And I've also been really open that I love the idea of gardening, but I'm actually not a keen gardener myself. Well, I signed up to a kind of subscription box, which I actually think is quite pricey, and I'm not sure I would necessarily say that you should absolutely sign up to it, because I do think it's quite a lot of money, and you could, if you are willing to do the research yourself, I think you could do it yourself a lot cheaper. But it's called the Floral Project Community, and the idea is that you receive 5 packs of seeds every month and you plant together. And the idea is that you have like a cut flower garden, and that you can like donate those flowers to friends, family, maybe like charities, or, you know, whatever. You essentially give them away. And I'm sure I will give some away to like friends and neighbours and stuff like that if I've got surplus stuff. But really for me, I just wanted to learn a little bit more about planting and actually try and get into it a little bit more. And I have to say it's really worked, because I have become a bit of an excited gardener the last few months, and I've actually probably done more in the garden than James has. I think that's also predominantly because he's been doing a lot more work in the house than I have, so it's kind of we've kind of managed it that way. But essentially I've really got into it. I feel actually it's been really, I have noticed how much better it is for my mental health being out in the garden and doing bits and pieces. And so yeah, I'm really enjoying it. And so yeah, so I thought I would do a bit of an updated garden tour. So why are you sitting in your car, Louisa? Well, because I'm going to go to the garden centre first, because there's a few little bits and pieces that I want to get. But I thought I would do a bit of a May tour, and because I have been paying a little bit more attention to the garden, I feel like we've added a few more bits in. I've been growing quite a few bits. This is the first year that our wisteria that we planted has flowered as well, so I just thought it might be quite nice to see how the garden changes over the next few months. So I'm going to try and do one of these like every month, so we can kind of see the difference as it happens. But first of all, I'm going to go to the garden centre to get a few bits and pieces, and I'll take you with me. So I didn't take you around the garden centre in the end. It was just, yeah, it was hard on my own. But this is my little stash that I've picked up. I'm not going to lie, I've probably overbought for everything. Classic. So I've got here quite a number of foxgloves, which, to be honest, I really wanted to grow them from seed at the end of this year. And if I plant these up, I might not need to, because they'll probably self-seed, but hey-ho. So I'm going to put a mixture of these in one of our back borders, and then also a border that's close to our patio by our kitchen. I've got these gorgeous, I don't know what they're called without looking, little bedding plants that I'm thinking for some of our pots, even some pots that have got, say, trees in, for example. And then I've got some delphiniums. I've got some Pacific bluebird ones and also some white ones, so that would complement it. I've got this, I think this is thyme, that's going to go in my herb planter. And then this, I've got chives to go in my herb planter. I love that these flower, these ones. I've got a number of different strawberry plants for my strawberry pot. And then I've got something else called, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this correctly, but geum. And they are something like cocktail Mai Tai colour or something. They're like orangey yellow. And I literally just saw them on a Facebook post this morning, and I just thought, wow, they're really lovely. So I put them on my list of something I might like for next year, and then I ended up coming across them today. So yeah. So I thought I would take you out front first of all, because we did a little bit of work out front last year and we've actually planted up some different bits and pieces which haven't come into flower yet but are looking really, really healthy, and it's totally transformed that space. It looks just a lot softer, so I thought I would take you out front first to show you this. So all of these kind of leafy green plants here that you can see are hydrangea Annabelles, and we bought 6 of these about 2 months ago now, but they are actually starting to flower, and they should flower in July. And these will really, I've probably overplanted really, to be honest, because these really will pad out along here. And then this is a wisteria that we actually only planted in the autumn. We got it last summer for our engagement from James's mum, and I love a wisteria, so, but yeah, I don't imagine this will flower for a number of years yet. And then this I planted about 2 years ago, I think. This is actually a grapevine, and it came from a cutting from my granddad's garden. My granddad worked in the wine industry, and we think the story goes that this is a cutting from Bollinger House, because he worked closely with Bollinger when he retired in 1985, so 38 years ago. And we sold his house in the autumn of last year, so we wanted to make sure that we had something to take with us. It was a very established vine at his house, over like a pergola, but this is the first year we're also getting grapes on it. I've got absolutely tons of them. I don't know if they'll all turn into grapes or whether they'll all last, but hey ho. And then I've planted up underneath here, which, to be fair, debatable whether this will work the way I want it to, but this is Tuscan blue rosemary, so it flowers into a lovely blue. I don't know when that will happen, and they get quite tall as well. I love blue, shock, so really looking forward to that. And also I went by the practical magic thing of plant lavender by your gate for luck, I think it is, and not lavender, rosemary. And then there's also something about lavender in practical magic, I don't know what it is, but yeah, these are lavender plants. We've had these since the first year we lived here, so we've been here for 4 years now. They've really filled out, although this one has dipped on this side. I'm hoping this is going to fill out this year. But yeah, they're just about to kind of start blooming. We've got quite a lot of lavender here. This is definitely the first lot out, but this is south facing out front, so I imagine that's why it's a lot hotter here in the afternoon. James in there doing some DIY. So you've got us on a freshly mowed lawn day, which is very nice. And it's a really warm day here in the UK. It's Sunday the 28th of May, and it's like 21 degrees here in the UK, so it's like we've had just rain pretty much this whole spring, and we've had a bit of a dry spell this week, and it's going to go into this coming week as well. So yeah, perfect time to get out in the garden. I'm trying to decide if I will take you, yeah, I'll take you around now. I'm going to spin you around because I don't have anybody to film this, and also I've got neighbours and I don't want them to think I'm completely nuts if they can see me. So this is what you can see when you first come behind our back gates. These planters are looking a little bit worse for wear. We think actually after this year we're going to get rid of them and perhaps get something else to go here. We've had them since we lived in a flat, and they're just really, it's not just dirt, they're like wearing away and stuff. But yeah, so these, I just actually de-weeded these and everything last weekend, and I'm going to be planting my cosmos that I've been growing from seed in here, so that's something I'm planning to do hopefully today. So they're empty at the moment, but eventually they'll hopefully have some beautiful like tall flowers. We just have our log store and our bins. I don't know what this is, but this has obviously been here since before we moved in. And this actually stays with a lot of leaves, I think quite late into the winter, autumn winter, so it's quite a nice one to have when everything else is looking a bit sad. And then this one behind it I think we thought was a rhododendron, but it has never flowered the way rhododendrons do since we've been here, so I don't know, maybe I think it's of that family perhaps, but we're just not really too sure what it is. We are debating taking this out, but that's what it looks like right now. And then along here we have lavender, which you'll be able to see in my first garden tour video that I ever did, that we put this in here. This always blooms a lot later in the summer because it only kind of starts to get the sun at this point in the day, and this poor little one is definitely overshadowed by this. And then we need to fix this to the fence. This is a rose. It's got, I never know how to say it, aphid or aphid. I need to sort it out. It's not looking very healthy. I think that's probably to do with the bugs, if I'm honest. This was a climbing rose I actually bought for somewhere else in the garden, but the picture on the plant when we bought it was different than to how it bloomed, so thankfully I hadn't planted it yet, so I've moved it here. It's a very deep red rose, and based on how it's looking right now, I don't anticipate it flowering. It's just riddled. Look, absolutely riddled. I need to sort this out. I didn't realise it was that bad. This is a bit of a border of neglect, if I'm honest, because it is a lot more shady for most of the year, and most of the day as well, until about now, where it's like 3:30 at the moment in the afternoon. But yeah, as you can see, like you'll see more of this throughout the garden, but we have a lot of like bluebells that come up, and so they're all going to seed at the moment. This Acer James propagated from an Acer that he bought a number of years ago, that's moved with us here to this house and is in a pot, and we've put it in here, so yeah, that's doing quite well. I forget what these are called, but they're like Hebes, I think, or something. Then this is a gorgeous little rose. I wouldn't be able to tell you what it is called, maybe until it blooms, and I can maybe look it up on a plant app or something. This was here when we moved here, but James moved it from somewhere else, I think. So the first year or two it didn't really do much, but now it definitely blooms, and you can see there's absolutely tons of buds, so this is on its way. I thought it already bloomed by this time last year, but that is also very plausible because we have had just awful weather. But it's a really soft light pink, and they're just teeny tiny roses. So yeah, I don't know what to call them. This is something we need to take out because it's a very poisonous kind of plant, and I also don't really like it. We've got a blueberry here that James planted about 2 years ago, and then kind of another big bush tree thing. This is what the patio is looking like at the moment. It is open for business, but it's not dressed how I would usually have it dressed. We're still battling with all of the blossom that's coming down from the horse chestnut, so I haven't really set it up fully properly yet. I'm just trying to get past that before I do any more. And then this is our apple tree, which is definitely a focal piece of our garden and one of my favourite pieces. It's already blossomed, and I think there's now like a number of little mini apples we can see. Why can't I see one now that I want to show you? Classic. Oh look, there we go. So yeah, and then this really goes to wild in the spring, but something I did really notice, so a lot of this that you can see really sad here is something that's really invasive, called three-cornered leek. It was here when we got here. It's definitely spread since. I think they encourage you actually to take it out, but it is like a herb that you could use. It looks particularly sad because it is on its way out, but with this, really interestingly, this usually flowers even as early as December, so we usually have it through the winter into kind of now when it is like dying off. But I don't know whether it was the snow last year in December, but it just did not flower until about early to mid-April, which is really unusual. I genuinely thought there was something wrong with it. Again, with lots of bluebells going to seed, and we also have some actual wild garlic as well, which I planted here from one of my mum's neighbours' gardens. We've got a number of weeds or wild flowers that I need to take out, but I'm kind of leaving this for the time being. I did deweed this the other week, but I'm going to leave this now because the next bit is where I'm going to clear this of all this stuff, and so I just thought I'm going to let this go for a bit before do anything else. I will take you up on the patio. We have lots of like potted plants. We also have this fig tree as well, which we've got some fruit on again. We had some fruit last year, but we just didn't manage to actually eat them. They kind of like fell off and died before we got the chance. So we've got some work to do around here because, again, some of the hebes have died. We've got some lavender. That is another grapevine, also propagated from my granddad's garden, planted at the same time, clearly not doing quite as well as the other one. And then this is a clematis that flowers for what I can only say is approximately a week every spring, and typically a time when we're not sat out here, so we don't really see it. So I'm debating moving this. I don't think it looks particularly happy there either. And then this is a jasmine that I've just planted. I bought this the other week because we had one over our front door. If I can find a picture, I'll put it up on the screen. And it was just out of control. So we got rid of it when we had the outside of the house done. And so I bought this because I love the smell of jasmine of an evening. So I think, you know, if we're sat here, that would be lovely. But that's still so young, very small, and I need to get something else for it to kind of grow up. Yeah, don't look too closely at the patio. It's not particularly charming at the moment. And so this border was almost nearly as sad as this border at one point, but we are slowly but surely bringing it to life. So this is a hop that my parents bought for James, and he planted that in last year. I think that's like a bit like a rhododendron, I can't remember. This is Nemesia, which is amazing. It smells like vanilla, but I've planted it in the ground, and I wish I planted it in pots for the table, but never mind. I've got a plum tree here, another blueberry. This is a hydrangea. I can't remember whether it's blue or white. And then we have a hollyhock, which is going to be a double salmon hollyhock. And then I've got this beautiful rose, which I planted a few years ago, and I absolutely love because of the way the petals go. I think it might be my favourite rose in the garden at the moment. And then we've got some loopings that we planted here that are meant to be, one's pink and a couple are white, but at the moment I can only see white. Some more Nemesia, raspberry plant, our gooseberry bush, which is doing really, really well. You can see there's quite a few on there. And these are all my seedlings. It's a bit of a mess. And lots of weeds. I've switched to voiceover as I was having too much trouble battling the wind, but this is another wisteria, as you'll be able to tell. And very excitingly, this is the first year that this has flowered. I actually bought this when I lived in my cottage with my sister, and it was planted very poorly in a pot and was totally neglected once I left to move in with James. So this finally then came to live with us here in the summer of 2019 and has really bedded in well. I can't wait to see it flower again next year, and I'm hoping we'll get some more. This border has really changed since we first moved in. Again, if I can find a picture, I'll try and insert one so that you can see. We actually have another wisteria on the other end, which is something that we didn't realise until long after we planted mine on the other side. This wall was hugely overgrown, and so James had just chopped everything back, and so we only realised that this was another wisteria when it started growing again, like 2 years ago. There's a lot of mess and overgrowth here because we'll be starting a new project of making our own water feature to go in here, so watch this space. This is another rose that predates us. It's probably a little out of control, but it always flowers with an abundance of bright pink roses. And then this is the last of our lavender in here. Again, it needs a little bit of a weed and tidy over here. Our archway was bought for the purpose of growing roses up it. I've not long actually planted up some peachy pinky climbing roses either side, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do in their first year. Eventually, I hope they'll fully grow over the top. I've also planted some sweet peas on the inside, so they're still really small, but the idea was to have colour either side. The bed over here is one of my favourites in spring, but it's really gone over now, and I'm just waiting for things to self-seed and for the bulbs to gain the nutrients from the leaves before pulling this all out and starting planting some of the things that I've been growing from seed. But in here we've got bluebells, sadly not the English variety, aquilegia, a few other wild bits and pieces, and I've started to find foxgloves growing here too. This border is also framed by some buxus hedge. In the spring, I like to call this Bluebell Walk. I'll have to remember to show you next year. Excuse our cluttered patio. So we have a number of different pots over here with bamboo, more hydrangea, and then another rose that we got from my godparents for our engagement, which is called True Love. We've not seen this flower yet, so I'm looking forward to seeing what this does this year. And then in this corner we have another hydrangea, some very pretty and delicate scabiosa, and then a daisy-like flower that I forget what it's called, but as long as you deadhead it, it will keep returning. Hello, I am filming this outro quite a bit after I filmed that video. I filmed a bunch of stuff over the last few months. We've made quite a few changes at the Bluestone Villa, this being one of them, and I've just not edited anything, so I finally edited this video, and I hadn't filmed an outro, so I just wanted to say thank you for watching, obviously. And I haven't done like a June or July tour, but I've been in a bit of an in-between phase with the garden where we've had loads of rain. If you're in the UK, you will sympathise. Actually, I think maybe if you're not in the UK, you'll sympathise as well. There's been, I think I saw somebody that I follow in the US saying exactly the same thing. But yeah, we've been in a really weird phase of really terrible weather here in the UK. And also a lot of the stuff that I have planted up, whether it's I've grown from seed or bought from the garden centre, has been in this phase where you deadhead or it's like cut and come again, and it's just been in this phase of lull, like it flowered and then it's like lulled, and now it's on the periphery of reflowering. So I think I'm going to try and film a midsummer garden tour a bit later this week so that I can show you what the garden looks like now, which is very, very different. Lots and lots of flowers, and yeah, I really appreciate you stopping by, and I'm hoping to be back a little bit more regularly again now. I really appreciate you stopping by. See you again next week.